Next up, we have a very interesting panel discussion on hybrid cloud management, overcoming the challenges of integrating private and public environments. For the panel's moderator, we have Dr. Allan Villegas-Mateos, who's the research associate at HEC Paris. And along with him, we'll have some very eminent panelists, Mr. Tarek Terk, who's the head of infrastructure technology with the Public Health Ministry in Qatar. We'll also have Mr. Fady Rafla, who's the Chief Digital Officer for the Post of Investment. We have Mr. Vikas Kanungo, who's the Senior Consultant for Digital Development Global Practice with the World Bank. And we also have Mr. Jain, who's the Manager for IT Product Teams at General Mills. Welcome to everybody to this panel. And Dr. Allan, over to you. Stage is all yours.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. What a great panel. Welcome, everyone. So yes, I would like to take a quick introduction to this panel that, as he said, it's about overcoming the challenges of integrating private and public environments. So, well, myself, I'm a researcher at HEC Paris. I do research about entrepreneurial ecosystem. I focus on entrepreneurship, but also in innovation. And I've been spending the last 2 years understanding what's going on, interviewing a lot of people. I get involved into the digital technologies with the Ministry of, through the initiatives of the Ministry of Communications and IT, and just a few months ago, I was also in a CYBERSECURITY Congress, moderating as well. And so one of the emerging trends that I see that is happening in Qatar is, of course, we are hosting the World Cup this year, but at the same time, we see a lot of growth in the technology field. I think just today is going to be a huge event in Qatar about Microsoft opening a new data center in Qatar. At the same time, in the business landscape, there are a lot of emerging technologies. But what let's say it's more concerning to the topic of today is it's how the digital technologies are growing exponentially and how we are implementing, using it, and integrating in our daily operations that comes, it's not only for the private sector, it's also for the public sector. So imagine speaking about the World Cup, all these data management assets that has to be protected with all the information of the whole world is looking at us. At the same time, in the private sector, we are seeing a revolution in the adoption of new technologies. Then 2 years ago, the COVID pandemic hit, and we migrated to a more digital new normal, what they say, the new normal. And this also speaks about how we are going to face these new environments. So speaking about it, I want to ask Fady, what do you see that are challenges that businesses face in the hybrid cloud adoption?
Hello, hi, Alan. Thank you very much for this question. I believe that yes, there are major challenges for businesses to adopt such an environment, a hybrid cloud environment. The main issues would be, or the main challenges are the security level, the data sovereignty regulations, as well as the skill gaps available in each organization, the fear from vendor lock-in, and of course the existing data center that has been invested a lot. What are they gonna do in these things? So if we take them step by step, the very first thing, data sovereignty regulations, I believe that we all follow certain regulatory entities that have certain regulations and limitations for our hosting of data. But at the same time, businesses, they don't really look for what data they have to keep on-prem and what others they can utilize clouds for. So, and because they don't do these researches, they tend to go on-prem just to be safe and continue their business. If we dig deep in these regulations, we will see that only a few data that cannot leave the premises for security issues, and these can be maintained in a hybrid environment with the data center that you've already invested in, and the other containers that has different services, different solutions, and everything can be hosted on either private or public cloud. When we talk about the security, I believe security in clouds is even much higher than security from on-prem. And governments even. And if we see the key players of cloud providers, they spend hundreds of billions of dollars for security on a yearly basis. No government spends that much for security. So I believe that this is a myth. Businesses, they need to have confidence in the security of cloud providers. As for vendor lock-in, yes, a lot of businesses also, they fear, okay, I'm gonna host all my platforms in a single cloud, and I'll be a slave to whatever this cloud provider gonna give me. Either it's gonna be a cost increase or whatever. And this is why we are pushing towards a hybrid kind of environment where you don't put full applications in a single cloud. You have them scattered in several cloud providers, as well as your own private cloud or on-prem infrastructure, in order for you to be able to ask for proper pricing. The other thing, the before last one is the skills of the IT resources. Currently, the IT resources available are not really familiar with hybrid cloud environment or hybrid IT environment, and they need to be upskilled in order for them to create a proper architecture and properly utilize. So the fear of not having the right caliber is there. Yes, it is there. It needs a lot of work to upskill them. But the benefit from upskilling these people and bringing proper resources to do thorough strategy will have a major impact on not only cost effectiveness, but also on governance, as well as the all cost management components. Existing data centers, they cannot, they are there. You can utilize them. You will definitely utilize them. You will definitely keep some of your data in it, and it will be part of the environment. You will not lose them, but it will be part of the environment. You don't need to keep everything that you have. You just keep the minimum that you can do in order for you not to increase your cost of operations at the end of the day.
Thank you, Fady. I think that's very insightful. I was reading earlier today that global cybercrime damage is predicted to hit $10.5 trillion annually by 2025. So it's in a growing trend. And I think this, as you said, should be a priority. How the businesses face this hybrid cloud adoption. Thank you. I have a question for you, Samir. So how do you see that? What are the issues that organizations are facing on the skills and expertise, and how do we overcome these challenges?
So in order to answer this question, I think some of the points Fady has mentioned is so true, that it's not just one thing which will help us be successful while doing our cloud transformation journey. There will be a mix of things which we need to focus upon. Now, if we have to look at it from the skills and expertise perspective, I think I will talk about certain points which will help us understand certain things. So to start with, one, we need to retire and rejuvenate. So we have to retire certain reports, certain applications which probably no one uses. We have created these things in last 10 years, but actually business is not using it. But we need to probably track that down to understand whether we really have usage for them. So when we retire some of this old application, you will not need resources to maintain those applications. That is one thing. Now when I talk about rejuvenate, it's, it's not always human being who needs to reskill themselves, but at times it has to be systems and application too. So we need to look at our applications in terms of whether are we, putting in right amount of energy and spending right amount of money to keeping them up to date, so that it is easier to take them further. And second thing is that we should look at the technology from the new look at the new technology, so that we can involve some of the new features within our existing application and upgrade them. So that's one thing. Second point I want to talk about from skills and expertise perspective is, you look at your application and you also look at you look at the long term roadmap of the technology you are using. If the long term roadmap of the technology is in alignment with your business goals on the technology side, then you can continue leveraging that technology, so that you don't have to reskill your people or hire people for the new technology. But if your existing technology provider is not there based on your business goals or technology goals, then you need to hire people. Now when we talk about hiring, you have to hire a mix of people, SMEs as well as people who are agile, because the technology is changing every year, every 18 months, every 2 year. You cannot have, you cannot hire new people every other time. You need to have people who can learn, who can reskill them quickly. So while you hire a set of team or set of individuals, you hire SMEs because they will help others to learn and grow. At the same time, you also hire people who can quickly reskill themselves and agile, and they understand the concepts of programming rather than having expertise on particular tool. So that's another point. Now couple more things which I also want to call out here is, one, that focus on self sustainable knowledge management, because that is key. If you will have knowledge management where you will need couple of people to maintain it, that never works, based on my discussion with so many industries in all these years. It does not work. Either you continue to spend 2 to 3 resources always, or it dies down on its own. And then last thing, on expertise and maintaining legacy applications and everything is, automate, which I think in some or other forums you always talk about to automate some of other things. So I will not spend much time on automate, but delegate. So if something which is operational, something which is someone with lower job bands or less skills can do it, so delegate certain things and free up your core expertise team to do the bigger things. So some of these things which I talked about do directly or indirectly impact your skills and expertise. So I think this some of these things will help you avoid challenges in that particular area.
Yeah, I think you said something very important, that we are dealing with technologies. These technologies are changing, are emerging new technologies, and that's what creates these cybersecurity threats. But at the same time, we still have the human component, which has to do with the people with the right skills, with our expertise, so we can overcome these challenges. So I think that's very interesting. I think. Somehow it's a new field of career for some people that can be involved in this. I have some statistic that says that there are nearby 3 million cybersecurity jobs that are on field just in the US. So imagine in the rest of the world. So I think if someone in the audience might be interested in the field, I think it's a place that you can get more expertise as this is a growing issue worldwide. Moving on to the public sector, I want to ask Vikas. Vikas, how can the issues of data security and privacy be handled while charting out a hybrid cloud strategy for public services?
Yeah, thank you so much, Alan. In fact, as you said about public sector, the government agencies, in order to provide services to people, to businesses, have lots of data about the entities, about individuals, geographical data about places, about assets. I think when the government agencies, public sector is moving to a hybrid cloud kind of an environment, the first thing they need to do is being able to label this entire data. Which data is public data, which data is private data, what is the data that can be shared with multiple applications, etc. So I think that labeling of data sets in terms of whether they are public or private is the first step in ensuring privacy and security. And then I think after you've labeled the data, the second step is being able to apply the consent management framework. Now, the consent to share somebody's data, whether it is a citizen or a business, is normally nowadays in lots of private applications. The trend is that once I've given a consent to go from place A to place B, to have access to my location, that consent is used by many applications perpetually. So in order to ensure cybersecurity, privacy of people in a public sector kind of an environment, one needs to deploy the consent management framework, which is agile, which would mean that, if I want to access a particular service, be it from government or a private sector entity, I should be able to give consent to use my data for accessing that service. And after that, I should be able to withdraw my consent. So that consent management framework is to be developed using whatever technologies are available. It is being done at some places and then applied. And third thing, I think, being able to classify, and this is very important, especially in the context of the country governments, which data should reside within a cloud environment, which where the data center is within the country, and which data can be hosted anywhere in the world. The same for backups, etc. So I guess all these strategic issues at the policy level have to be addressed before going on to a hybrid cloud environment, so that both the cybersecurity of digital as well as physical assets can be ensured, and the privacy of data of citizens, businesses, etc., can also be maintained. I'll stop at that, Alan. Thank you.
Yes, I think I could not agree more. It's very important, as you said, to get the consent, the permissions, and to label the data assets. So I guess that it has to do also of how we manage this data. There are some management and monitoring issues that are involved behind this. I know that, for example, speaking about government in Qatar, with the World Cup, which is a hot topic this year, there was created this cybersecurity framework to understand how they are going to manage all this information from people from all over the world coming, registering their information and all that. So I guess it's part of the same thing, how in this migration to a hybrid cloud, you are going to protect that assets, that data, that information. So management of data is key. So I want to ask Tarek, what do you see that are the challenges for management and monitoring of the hybrid cloud model?
Hello, Alan. Hello, everyone. The most challenge actually before going to management and monitoring is to have a strategy and a framework for the cloud adoption. And I believe most of the organization here in Qatar, they did the adoption. And then after maybe having 2 or 1 year of adoption, they will step back and then they will design their strategy. Because having the strategy will give you what's next, right? So you cannot jump into something and without thinking about the next stage. Management and monitoring is one of the challenges, especially for the hybrid cloud or multi-cloud, because it will be inevitable. Even multi-cloud, it will be something we need to live with at a certain point of time. And this will increase the need to manage very different architecture with different tools and APIs and that may require integration. For many organizations, this means either mastering different platforms and their individual management tools. And there are individual management tools in order to monitor and manage these platforms. And this may introduce complication and the need and the demand of like a set of skills. And I believe at least two of our esteemed panelists spoke about the challenge of the skills. So to overcome the challenge, you need to plan it ahead. You need to have like a centralized console in order to have consistent management, automation. It was mentioned as well, security and compliance, covering all the cloud platform with a single pane of glass. And of course, it has to be tailored for specific roles. Some will be looking on the FinOps, some will be looking on the SecOps, other will be looking about the high availability, etc. So eventually, this will assist to optimize and secure the workloads and ensure a consistent, reliable, and high level of performance. Moreover, we mentioned about the FinOps. It must have visibility and cost control across cloud platform. And worth mentioning, if you excessive permission, this will lead to excessive provisioning as well, and you lose control over the cost. To achieve sufficient visibility and control over the cloud, managing multiple platforms, in my opinion, there is two options. So either to extend the capability of one cloud service provider monitoring and management tools to on-premises private cloud or even to multi-cloud. Nowadays, service providers understand the competition and trying to coexist by evolving their monitoring and management tools. Trying to bust the myth, I believe everyone attend X, Y, Z cloud service provider, and they're trying to bust the myth of 5 verticals that multi-cloud is costly, multi-cloud is complex, etc. So from them, they extend their management tool and maybe a migration tool or integration tool in order to bust the myth that multi-cloud or hybrid cloud is complex, insecure, and costly. Or simply to forego the tools offered by a cloud service provider and implement a neutral cloud management platform that collects data from all services used by the organization itself. Either way, you must have experience in-house subject matter experts, or you need to have managed service provider to ensure total visibility of cloud operation and holistic view required to make well-informed decision, meet SLAs, and eventually smooth operation.
I agree. Thank you. I think you mentioned also that multi-cloud could be an additional cost in the management and the implementation. But I want to ask Fady, what do you think are the multi-cloud challenges solved by a hybrid cloud environment?
So you have a lot of challenges, mainly moving from workloads to the right cloud. It's a challenge to choose the proper cloud that will fit this specific system, orchestrating and integrating application across the geographies of scale. Also the complexity in the infrastructure and the integrations and network and data centers. I believe that multi-cloud environments, as Tarek mentioned, and I agree, that you will require to deal with several porters or tools, cloud tools, and each one is completely different because it's a different cloud provider. So having a hybrid environment, it fixes all these challenges. I didn't mention, of course, the IT staffing and cloud expertise. You will need to have one for each and every single tool that knows, in order to be an expert in it. And also the governance itself, it's going to be very difficult because at the end of the day, you cannot monitor your whole environment from a single console. You have to pass through different tools in order for you to get all the information, and of course this will not give you a proper real-time view on what's happening in the environment and take the right necessary actions to either fix certain issues or target customers in different messages. So having a hybrid IT environment is the solution for all the complexes that is available in multi-cloud. It will definitely give you the ability to manage applications on virtually any cloud anywhere. It will increase the speed across the deployment and management of applications, as well as the security of critical data and application. Because as we said, hybrid cloud is on-prem, public, and private clouds. So you can have your own critical data hosted on your on-prem infrastructure and utilize the other clouds and manage all this and monitor all this in a single console. It's also worth mentioning that organization they lack adequate cloud expertise. So it's not an easy thing to upskill them fast enough to adopt such a technology. I would second Tarek, I believe, who mentioned that we need to bring consultants and give proper workshops on hybrid IT environments, hybrid cloud environments, in order for them to be able to optimize or maximize the benefit of it. So it might look a little bit expensive at the beginning, but the potential save money over the long term is humongous if you do the right architecture as well as the proper, thorough strategy of hybrid cloud.
Yeah, there's a cost of opportunity behind all this, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you. So I can rescue. So in summary, complexity, IT staffing, regulations, and all that, the compliance that has to do with government. And the last thing you said was the real-time operations when you have multi-clouds and several layers in the design of your cybersecurity framework. But when we move this back again into public sector government, because how do you see that the hybrid cloud strategy can help government agencies fast tracking their efforts in service delivery?
Thank you, Allan. Actually, very pertinent question. I can tell you that when the pandemic happened and the government had the requirement to vaccinate people, share their status of vaccination online, either on their mobile phones, provide them information about nearest vaccination centers. And when all this was required to be done within a period of 2 weeks, I think that is where the hybrid cloud environment helped a lot, because the private cloud is hyperscale. It has limitless capacity, and the government data centers already had data about citizens' identity and a way of authenticating them, the data about hospitals, about the availability of vaccine. Combining these two, I think many governments, especially I can tell you about India, were able to quickly roll out digital public service applications within a period of 2 weeks, by leveraging this private sector cloud. So for governments, I think hybrid cloud provides an opportunity where you don't have to discard the legacy systems or the data centers you have already created, but at the same time being able to use complex applications like analysis engines, GIS engines, dashboards, etc., across multiple government applications using a hybrid cloud environment. So it's basically a combination of the expertise of the public sector in providing these hyperscale resources, and for the public sector to be able to leverage the vast amount of data they have about people, assets, etc. So I think it's a very win-win situation for both, provided there are good models for this kind of a public-private partnership and sharing of risks and rewards equally between the public sector and private sector. I'll stop there, Alan.
Right, right. Yes. So I think more and more digital e-government services are emerging as well, and I think it's part of what you were saying. It's very interesting. Samir, in this case, how will transformation support and SLAs look like in a hybrid cloud environment? What's your perspective?
So, transformation support and SLAs, if I have to talk on this one by one, from the transformation standpoint, I think first thing which always comes into sponsors' mind is what in it for me. You have hybrid cloud, you have private cloud, public cloud, whatsoever. What in it for me? So, as an IT leader or as an IT organization, we all have to think about that we can leverage things from one cloud or you can do things from your on-prem system. But when you have a hybrid cloud in your place, you can leverage hybrid cloud in favor of you, because you can offer a lot of greater things to your business when you have a hybrid cloud. Because for example, some cloud providers are very good on the web application front, whereas certain cloud providers are very good on the data and analytics part. And if you have a Microsoft stack, Microsoft Azure cloud is more suitable for you because your stack is Microsoft oriented. So you have to leverage hybrid cloud for in your favor, rather than just thinking about the challenges and businesses asking you to manage. You have multiple operational models to manage and all those kind of things. Second thing which is in favor of having hybrid cloud is, from the transformation standpoint, is that you have two clouds in your organization, and there are two applications or two systems running upon it. You understand the cost coming out of the cloud, because the organizations and the environment is fairly new to the system. They are just a year or two, or maybe 3 to 4 years in the system, but most of them are yet to understand the cost associated. So when you have hybrid cloud in your organization, you will understand how it works, how's the performance, how's the cost coming. So without taking a big decision at enterprise level, you can understand things from the smaller applications of those hybrid cloud. That's more on the transformation side, because you can offer more to your business. Now, talking from the support and SLA standpoint, so since it is new, it is something which a lot of organizations are exploring. Our Maybe our enterprise architects in the organization have had that conversations with the cloud provider. Here, this is how we support, this is the structure, this is the process. But is the developer or the person on support understand what is this, how much time it is going to take? So we need to do some due diligence on it from the support standpoint, because when business is 100% relying on the cloud based applications or cloud based systems or reports, and then when there is a hiccup, our people on ground should know this. So this due diligence will help you understand the time required to fix certain things, as well as you can communicate in advance, so that we look more professional in front of our business rather than fixing things at that point in time. And from the SLA standpoint, one interesting thing which I want to call out from my own experience, that if you have a hybrid cloud and your hybrid clouds are interacting with each other, you also need to understand the SLAs from your cloud provider, from the perspective of that if there is an issue related to certain things which you can anticipate at this point of time, what is going to be your SLA. And why this is important, because at times when it is, your two vendors are interacting with each other, there is, at times it goes like, maybe my cloud is good, there's an issue on the other cloud, and vice versa, and that takes up a lot of time to resolve issues. So if you will be clear on some of the SLAs around how much time it takes, what is your strategy if a cloud is connecting to B cloud, then how much time you take in that particular set. So we have to do some due diligence in all these things, so that we are better equipped when our business is completely relying upon hybrid cloud applications, and then having very small set of private cloud or on-premise application, because that's a secure data, as Vikas has rightly mentioned. So that's, I think these are the certain points which we should definitely take care in mind when we talk about transformations, like what in it for business and support and SLAs, because it's the next thing. Once we all are there on cloud and running our systems day in day out, the next thing comes is how do we support and how do we maintain the SLAs. So that's I wanted to.
Yes, thank you. I think very accurate, and you dig a lot into the importance of understanding first our system, the framework where we operate before trying to scale it in a major operation. So I think the deciding has to do a lot with the cybersecurity framework or with the network design that we are wanting to implement. So I think maybe, Tarek, can you help me elaborate more on the network design complexity for integrating existing applications in the different parts of the hybrid cloud?
Sure, Alan. There is a saying goes like every application needs a great network. I'm not sure if the guys agree with me. So mainly integration will dictate your network design, or mostly will dictate your network design. Integrating private and public cloud so they behave and operate as cohesive entity is one of the biggest hybrid cloud management obstacles. Recognizing that not all the application and systems and their dependency will end up residing on the cloud or and on-premises environments. They will be scattered all over the place. You will find multiple components everywhere. So adding to this complexity is the integration of legacy system with the cloud computing. Those legacy systems, mainly they will reside on premises, and they will find difficulty. You'll find something like a middleware in between in order to let them speak to the cloud application. Creating infrastructure to manage the integration is far easier said than done, especially if many applications are involved spread across multiple tenants. Multiple tenants, I meant here, it could be multiple entity tenants as well. In case you are having a national solution and this national solutions require integration with multiple entities across, let's say, a certain sector, or it could be multiple sectors, it depends. Because the hybrid cloud module relies on data exchange between organizations, on-premises data centers, and public cloud providers, network must maintain a high level of performance. In case where the application require low latency, some application will not tolerate, let's say, high latency. To ensure adequate performance, organizations should consider establishing a direct connection between their private data center and their public cloud provider. And there are multiple scenarios as well. And this is just between the on-premises data center of the organization and the public cloud. But the network connectivity, it can go multiple directions. And I don't believe we have the time to go through them all. So understanding the scalability, integration, and data flow requirement for each application will influence your network and infrastructure design. This I believe we agreed on at the beginning of this, let's say, saying. Network latency again. So we need to make sure that we have like a strong network. An efficient hybrid cloud model must have excellent network design from the beginning. So you need to design big from the beginning. Because not always the business requirement will come to you clear. So you need to factor the expansion and factor for the bandwidths. Organization need to account for various factors such as, let's say, impact of the location. For example, you have HQ, you have branches, branch network, let's say, over the WAN or over the stretch LAN, or even external entities, as we mentioned, as service providers, partners, and vendors. As complexity and expectation escalate, hybrid network management offer, here we are again back to the management. So the more complex is the network, require manageability and again single pane of glass. Since much of the difficulty with managing hybrid network lies on their scattered nature, scattered nature means components scattered all over the place, and you need to provide the right network and the right visibility in order to make sure that integration is happening and and in stable manner. Bringing everything together under one umbrella with smooth operation, meeting SLAs, it's a real hurdle. But again, you need a management tool in order to have the right visibility, in order to provide the right service.
Thank you. Amazing. I think we are running out of time, but I think you all provide great knowledge today, and it was a great panel. And I would just want to summarize in 1 minute what we said today, and then we will jump to see if we have any questions from the audience. So we started speaking about the challenges that business face. We spoke about that there are different security levels, that regulations have an implication, and it's part of the challenges that are facing. Also, that in these multi-cloud challenges that we spoke about, the complexity of the environments, that IT staffing is required and needs to be also trained and get more deeper knowledge on understanding the design of our cybersecurity framework. We spoke about the real-time operations and how the public sector is using this to also provide e-services and government applications, from health to FIFA World Cup and every this kind of big events where data management becomes an asset, and that data has to be labeled between public and private. That's like a must when we also try to design our network. And at the end we close about, well, of course, that all this implies some costs that are associated, but that there is a cost of opportunity behind it, because you reduce the risks, you reduce cybercrime and all these threats. Eventually it will save you money in other parts of the supply chain, let's say. And we close with this reflection that a great integration also relies in a good network. By Tarek, he remembered us this quote. And well, let's see if we have any questions from the audience. Can you help me with that?
Yes, we do have a question from Mr. Yusuf Fateh Rahman. I think it's from Mr. Tarek. Can we talk about SOC a little more? Mr. Tarek, you heard the question?
I don't know if Tarek
Maybe
can
he's
help
lost
or
already.
anyone else can help us with that question. If anyone wants to jump with this question.
I can, no worries, but what is the question presented?
Could you elaborate a little on SOCs?
SOC?
SOCs.
Security Operations Center?
System on a chip, I'm assuming?
Security,
Operation centers, I think they want to understand some of our views on the security operation centers.
I can take this, guys, but it's up to you. You can, any volunteers, I'll step back.
No, please go ahead.
I believe the question is referring to have a security operation center for the hybrid environment, I assume, right? So this will come under the management, as we mentioned, to have one tool to cover both environment. And cloud service provider, they have such tools, like they have the SIM solution, they have the SOAR, they have the security monitoring, they have the compliance monitoring. That's natively, it will protect and monitor the cloud workloads, and you can extend this for the on-premises through onboarding the on-premises resources and sending the logs from on-premises to the cloud tools. I'm just avoiding to mention any brand or any technology names. I'm just speaking in general. So yes, this is achievable. And again, this either you can monitor it in-house if you have the resources to cover 3 shifts and the right expertise, or you can simply have a managed security service provider to manage your technology since you own the technology.
Just one thing to add on this, that there are some third-party tools available in the market or third-party provider available in the market who will give you the tools to have operations, hybrid cloud operations on one portal to manage how things looks like and how it is going. So you will have to find out the right vendor based on the need you have, and accordingly you can manage your hybrid cloud from the operation standpoint.
Do we have any other question?
Thank you. No, I think that's all I see this time. Good.
Okay, well, so thank you again to our eminent panelists. Great insights. Thank you for your time, also for the audience. I hope you find it useful. And well,
Yes,
that's it
thank
for
you
this
again
one.
once again, all of you, all the eminent panelists over here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
for
you very
sharing your
much
thoughts.
for hosting us.
Thank you all. I'm
Thank you,
honored.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.